And for more now on these talks, Victor Gao joins me from Beijing. He's chair professor at Soochow University. Good morning, Victor. Always good to see you.
Good morning. Thank
Hi.
you for having me.
So let's start. What is your sense of the call between Presidents Biden and Xi? Nearly 2 hours long, held in private, but with immense public interest. What's the significance there?
First of all, I think the call was very important, especially when the world seems to be in great turmoil right now. And for the leaders of the two largest economies in the world, two of the most important and powerful countries in the world, to communicate directly is very helpful. Now, secondly, both leaders had a chance to present their views about what's going on in Ukraine, and their views apparently do not align with each other completely. And China had a chance to present its views and conclusions, and China emphasized the importance of peace, of negotiations, seeking an end to the war as quickly as possible. And China also seemed to project the message that China will not cave into any kind of pressure. And I think the soundness of China-Russian trade and economic relations, which have been going on for more than 33 years in a row, ever since their normalization, should not be thrown a big wedge into it. So I think China has successfully conveyed to the United States the image and the sound of sanity, rationality, and logic in looking at the merits of each of the strands involved in the very complicated Ukrainian situation.
Victor, as you say there, their positions, the US and China, do not align. However, they both ultimately want the turmoil to end because the instability is no good for anyone. How do you see them, coming to a meeting of minds there?
Absolutely. I think as far as China is concerned, China definitely wants to see the military operations brought to an end as quickly as possible with minimum loss of Ukrainian civilian life. Now, the United States, ironically, is an indirect party to this military operation already. For example, the flirtation about NATO, recruiting Ukraine to start with, which was one of the reasons leading to this disaster, and also the United States sending all the sophisticated weapons to Ukraine. I think from the Chinese perspective, this is viewed as adding more fuel onto the fire in Ukraine, which actually would not be able to save more civilian lives. It would ironically lead to greater warfare in Ukraine and resulting in more casualties on the ground. So China wants to maximize humanitarian assistance to Ukraine and urge all parties involved to de-escalate and focus on negotiations and dialogue. And all parties need to compromise to a certain extent in order to achieve a mutually acceptable deal for saving more lives in Ukraine and achieving some kind of lasting, peaceful framework for Ukraine.
And on that line, though, Victor, because, as you say, China really does have a policy of non-interference. But given its leverage and its strategic partnership with Russia, could you see it taking on the role of a broker of a ceasefire, a mediator of peace in that sense?
I think President Xi Jinping and other Chinese leaders have already, on quite a few occasions, indicated their willingness to pick up this role as a mediator in this Ukrainian situation. But on the other hand, China cannot dictate terms for the parties to be accepted, and it will eventually be up to the parties directly involved or indirectly involved to engage with each other under, hopefully, Chinese mediation to come up with mutually acceptable terms for a solution. This is very, very important. Allow me also to mention a personal point. I think mankind has never been as close to the brink of a nuclear disaster as we are now, even though there are many countries in the world who seem to pretend to disregard this. However, keep in mind that the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Guterres, has already mentioned that there is a possibility that this may escalate into a nuclear confrontation. I think this should add to our incentive and urgency to work very hard to bring about a negotiated settlement to the conflict, rather than taking any risk of pushing this in the wrong direction or beyond the point of no return.
Very wise words. Victor Gao there, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much.